Oh shit, I like that.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. It is our cameras off Hurricane Edition. I am your host, Mr. Richie Hicks Jr., out in beautiful St. Cloud, Florida. We'll see how beautiful it looks in about another 15 to 18 hours. Got my lady currently looking at some hotels. She's slightly nervous, but we'll see. As for the crew here with me tonight, the beautiful men that you see on your screen. Idris, a.k.a. Bosco, from the Bronx, out in North Carolina, as well as my guy Mike Zappi, out in San Antonio, Texas. And I gotta say, Mr. Nast, you put up 3 boss-ass pictures of the crew.
Yeah.
Shouts out to you. Love the backgrounds. All my favorite teams. Zappi over the hardwood, leading on the ice. Me on the diamond, as well as the ice. And Idris overseeing Giant Stadium. On tonight's show, we're going to be hitting you with the gauntlet of games that we got going over week 6. Can't believe it's week 6 already. And we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go backwards to forwards this time around. We're going to start it up on Monday Night Football. And the reason I'm choosing to go this route is because we got some news coming out of East Rutherford, New Jersey, as Robert Saleh has lost his gig after their disappointing loss in England, a game that they could have unseated the Vikings from the undefeated crew. But Aaron Rodgers, 3 terrible interceptions. Sauce Gardner got dinged up in this game. And the Jets just acquired a litany of defensive holdings and pass interference calls in this game. And truthfully, even on the offensive side of the ball, it seemed like they just had to work exceptionally hard to do anything functional. And that's what happens to a coach when you're in a championship window, so to speak, and you cannot produce any kind of consistency on offense, and you have a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer leading the way, but he is 40 years old. The Jets are making this move as a way of saying, number one, they are panicking, but number 2, they don't have a lot of time.
Right on. I agree. I think they're in panic mode, and they don't need to be in panic mode. And also, the way I look at it is, it's the OC. Okay, they are averaging the same thing they averaged last year, points wise and everything. And they had Zach Wilson last year. This year they got Aaron Rodgers, but there seems to be no progress. I can't put that on the coach. I have to put that on the offensive coordinator, because it's his job to put these plays in. And if you got a quarterback like Zach Wilson, who what he did last year, let's say for the first 4 games, then you got a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and he's putting up the same points as Zach Wilson, you got to look somewhere else. Because I don't remember when they just fired the coach and not the offensive coordinator, and this early in the season. So, and I still feel Aaron Rodgers has something to do with this. And then you bring up the defensive coordinator and make him the interim head coach. So I'm not understanding that, considering the defense had those issues this past weekend, with the penalties. So there's blame to go around, but I'm starting with Hackett, because you're not producing. The team is not, the offense is not.
Yeah, I can't really say that the defense, the defense has had lapses in discipline, but I can't say that player for player or during the course of a game that the defense isn't doing enough to win more games than lose. But truthfully, the offense, with the exception of that Patriot game, has not really looked crisp all season long. You know, in the 49er game, when the 49ers were their healthiest, which was week 1, the Jets looked overpowered and overmatched. And, you know, even more recently with this game out in England, or even in the real snooze fest where they got beat by the Denver Broncos in a real embarrassing one in MetLife.
Yeah.
This Jet team looks too similar to the Jet team that had Zach Wilson and not Aaron Rodgers. They waited and waited for Rodgers to return after, 4 plays into the 9/11 game. You know, and you know, I agree to a level that the coach has to fall on the axe. But if the Jets think that firing Robert Saleh is going to fix every worry of theirs, then the boys upstairs are truly, truly disillusioned.
Yeah, Woody Johnson. You know, you said that. My bad.
I was going to say, you know, I think that's where the bigger problem comes from. It's not so much the head coach or the offensive or defensive coordinator. It comes from above. And I mean, we have seen this time and time again with this organization, and the dysfunctionality comes from the general manager. You know, and I agree with you just 100%. He took the words right out of my mouth, but. You know, we saw the Buffalo Bills, the team they're playing on Monday night. They went last year. They fired their OC. They fired Ken Dorsey, and they promote their now offense coordinator, and the offense took off. This offense now, you know, it's stagnant at best. You scored 93 points through 5 games, as the same as last year, like he just said. And but there's been nothing going. Is the Devontae Adams going to fix the entire situation? I don't think so. I think we're going to come to the realization that Nathaniel Hackett as an offensive coordinator is just not hacking it for this offensive coordinator this time around.
We call that a segue, kids. We call that a segue.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
So you know,
continue, sir.
I look at this whole issue right now, and you know, and you look at their roster, what it's made of. It's a lot of 1-year rentals, and you know, let's be real with it. This team, what did I say a couple years ago with the New Jersey Nets? They needed to what? Blow it up. That's what this team needs to do. They need to blow it up. You got rid of Robert Saleh. Obviously, the interim coach, in a very rare case, gets kept to become the head coach moving forward. Antonio Pierce being the exception, but even he's not looking like he's going to be maintaining his job after this year. So it's, you know, they need to blow up this whole situation and kind of start over fresh.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's crazy because. I mean, I like Aaron Rodgers. I really do. But I think he has something to do with this. I just feel he does. And this team is not going – this team, they bring in Saleh after bringing in Adam Gase, and I don't know why they brought Adam Gase, but still they brought him in. You know, he was fired, and it's like they can't keep a coach there more than 2 to 3 years. It's like, okay, you got to go. And this is the personnel with me. This Aaron Rodgers – he got what he wanted. They brought the people in that he wanted to play with. He got the OC he wanted. And still, there's nothing different from last year. And it has Zach Wilson. Same stuff. And you promote the DC.
And you know.
You say,
I was going to say, and I don't even think a guy, a good head coach like a Bill Belichick, a guy that they had hired for 5 minutes, I don't think he would take a job with that organization right now.
You know who he is?
No, I don't see it either.
He's David Tepper of the Jets. Woody Johnson. He's just bringing them in, firing them, bringing them in, firing them. Same thing. It's just like the Panthers. Dysfunction. You know. And I agree they need to blow it up. You need to blow it up. Just blow it up. You know.
Well, it's going to go that route. Now, there is an interesting thing that could happen that could potentially save this situation. Devontae Adams will be healthy enough to play within the next couple of weeks. If he gets dealt at the deadline to the New York Jets, I do believe that could be the spark that this offense will need to make them a complete threat on the aerial end of things.
But let me ask you this. Who are the Jets willing to give up?
Well, it's going to have to be draft capital. And to speak on the desperation of the Jets, this desperation started a about 4 months before they officially acquired Aaron Rodgers, because they put themselves so far out. So far out. If you revisit that trade, Green Bay, in my opinion, won that trade 6 times over.
Oh yeah.
And Rodgers. This is how Rodgers strikes me. He's a Packer at heart, but he wanted a new challenge, and I think he kind of grew tired, similar to the previous quarterback, Brett Favre, grew tired of being patient with a team that is not going to break the piggy bank to bring in big name stars. Green Bay has always built from within the draft. Whereas a New York Jets team has always been susceptible, because they have that penis envy, so to speak, of the team in blue, to always have to get that next big name. And if you even look at what they've done during the course of their history at the quarterback position, they have had a propensity for bringing in guys that were at the end of their lines that had a small window. Boomer Esiason, Neil O'Donnell, Brett Favre, now Aaron Rodgers. And, championship teams that make moves like that are literally that one player away.
One more time? Yeah, you're right.
But I'm sorry. When the Rams acquired Stafford, it was the slam dunk that they needed to make to get to the next level.
Yeah.
When the Buccaneers made the deal for Brady, same situation. It was the slam dunk they needed to get to the next level. Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old is not the same massive slam dunk as the two guys I already mentioned. And that's not an indictment of Aaron Rodgers. It's a little bit of everything else, but make no mistake, it is organizational. Because if you're going to make the sacrifices that they made to bring in a guy at that age, you have to know that you are that close. And the New York Jets, quite frankly, have not been that close since 09, 10, and they had an opportunity in 11, but the New York Giants said, hold that. So that's where it's at.
And also with that, Richie, you got a guy 40 years old coming off the Achilles tear. So, it's hard to recover from that period. But you got a 40-year-old player, and he hasn't played in a whole year, and he doesn't practice. So,
the way I look at Aaron Rodgers, I'm not a fan of the guy. I haven't been for years. But the way I look at him is, I put him and Deshaun Watson in the same category as they're playing for the money and not for the team.
I agree.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has no genuine love for the New York Jets organization, and the Jets are so damn thirsty to break the 5-decade-long hex of not making a Super Bowl that they literally allowed a mercenary who does not have the same win ratio as other mercenaries in other leagues. Let's be real, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Like LeBron, hate LeBron. LeBron wins more than Aaron Rodgers, no matter how you slice it. Yeah. And the reality is that the New York Jets are going to end up being losers in the long run. And I'm not even convinced that they're the best team in MetLife Stadium right now. As other sports goes, before we move it along to Monday Night Football and elaborate more on these Jets, Jazz Chisholm made a firm prediction saying that the Royals got lucky. We're confident. We think we're the best team in baseball, and we're going to win. Of course you want that confidence, but I don't necessarily agree that handing over bulletin board material, rather, is the way to go when you're playing a young, hungry team that's so naive that doesn't even realize that maybe they shouldn't be where they are, but they're going to give you everything they got. I think the Yankees, as a very humble fan, are fortunate that this series is tied at 1.
Tied, yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They are very fortunate this series is tied at 1, because personally, I thought Kansas City played a phenomenal game 1.
They did.
Well, truthfully, baseball is a weird place sometimes. Were it not for one legitimate bad frame from Carlos Rodon, the Yankees probably win. I'm not mad at Rodon. He ran into some trouble. All in all, it was not a bad start, and you cannot pin anything on the Yankee bullpen right now, which is something to feel good about in a way. You got to think the offense is going to open up soon. I will say this. The New York Yankees have the best road record in Major League Baseball. They're in a tied series, and they are in a position where they have to go into Kansas City in Kauffman Stadium and win at least one game. I think when you're the best road team in baseball and you have the best record in the American League, hey, if you call yourself World Series bound and you have aspirations of bringing home number 28, then this is a game you have to win. Yeah. Game 3 and put the pressure back on the Royals and make it a best out of 2. I think the Yankees are going to come out and getting away from the New York media is going to be just what the doctor ordered to get those bats going.
I agree.
I need Eric Judge.
We should be down 2-0. Casey played 2 good games. The first game, they basically collapsed. Last night, we just couldn't get going. They jumped on us early, and we couldn't come back.
Yeah, the favorable steal by Jazz Chisholm, which in my opinion should have been called out even after the replay. That was the difference. Both teams were back and forth, taking the lead, stealing it back. And as the other New York team goes, I got to say this: a big shout out to the New York Mets. They are showing some serious testicular fortitude, showing some serious guts. And they are 1 game away from the National League Championship Series. And I'm going to make this bold proclamation right now. I had the Mets winning the series in 5 going in. I think they're going to finish them in Queens.
I think so, too. Shouts out to them. My bad, Zach.
I was going to say, that'd be so beautiful.
Weird. Shouts out to the Mets, man, because, I've been bashing them all season. I always say, well, we know how it's going to end for them. Mm-hmm. And hitting you on the playoffs, and they can hit it. They can hit it quick and flush it. So, shouts out to them. I'm not going to hate on them now. I mean, they did what they did, because I never thought I would see them in the playoffs. I had them, finishing 4th in the East anyway. So, hot stuff, and I think they're going to finish up in Queens, man. You got to watch them, because they look like those Phillies a couple of years ago that came out of nowhere.
What gives me optimism for the Mets, if I was a Met fan, is unlike the Yankees. The Yankees, although they had a very good season, with the exception of that weird early summer slip up, the Baltimore Orioles completely complied to what the Yankees needed.
Yeah.
And I think the weird thing is, when the Yankee lead grew in the American League East, I don't necessarily think the Yankees were playing great baseball. I just think the Orioles were playing that crappy for a good while that allowed the Yankees to get into that mode where they blew it up to the 4, 5, 6 game lead and ultimately were able to hold on, not a big problem down the stretch. Where in the Mets case, teams were making it tougher. That National League wild card situation was so tough to hang on to. It went down to game 163 as well as game 164 for the Braves and Mets respectively, as they kept the Arizona Diamondbacks out. And the point I'm making before we move it back over to football is that when you are in playoff mode, which essentially means you are playing for your lives, it is a vast advantage over a team that has a beautiful record that gets a week off and then has to turn it back on. It doesn't always work that way.
And just to finish off on top of what you're saying there, you talk about the week off. Well, we're looking at the Padres right now. They are up 3-1 at the bottom of the second with runners on the corners, no outs. If they take this game, we could be possibly seeing the Padres take command and take this series at game 4. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Well, the Padres was a team I picked to go to the World Series this year.
It's 4-1 now, gentlemen. 4-1.
What's interesting is that if the Yankees hold serve in the American League, we may be treated to either a rematch of the 98 World Series or the 2000 World Series, and that will be determined. It's going to be exciting. Back to the Jets, Monday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills, another struggling team, suddenly at 3-2, taking on the 2-3 Jets. As you already know, we hit it early. Saleh is out. The Bills are attempting to get back to their winning ways. I think they're in a little less crisis mode than the Jets are, because truthfully, they played the Texans hard. They were missing their slot man in Shakir. I think this game exposed the Bills in the sense of vulnerability of how important Khalil Shakir is to that offense. Something that I do want to praise the Bills on moving forward, though, is that with the exception of letting that Raven game get out of hand, if you look at every Buffalo game this year, their defense has played like a top 10 unit and a defense that can bring a championship to Western New York. I am not going to get on Josh Allen over the futility. I'm not going to call it futility, over cooling down on the offense after he was blowing up the league for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think this is the kind of game that is really going to go down to who has the ball last. I think both these teams are going to play to a damn near even tie in terms of making enough plays to win it on defense. But ultimately, the difference in this game is that Josh Allen can get out of the pocket. He can make plays with his legs. And in a tight game like this, where both defenses are going to be bringing it, and you might actually be in a situation where you're relying on a kicker to win, I'm going to say it. Even though he got his heart broken last year and broke the hearts of many of the Bills Mafia, I think Tyler Bass is going to be the guy in MetLife Stadium that's going to be able to make the big kick. And in a low-scoring affair, not too low-scoring, but low-scoring for the Bills standards when Allen is feeling it, I've got the Buffalo Bills winning this thing 24-20. The Jets will play better, but the Bills will improve to 4-2, whereas the Jets are going to drop down to 2-4. Road victory for the team from upstate.
Yeah, I'm rolling with you too, but I'm going to go 27-21. I think it'll be a situation they got to stop the run. And Aaron Rodgers, I just don't think he's that guy anymore. I just don't think he's that guy anymore. I think he has a lot left, but I don't think he's the Aaron Rodgers of Green Bay.
This might be the loss that forces the Jets to get even a little more desperate and make a move for a Davante Adams or one of the other big names that could be floated on the trade market. Because as we all know, the Cleveland Browns are very much out of the race, and I would not be the least bit surprised if you see names get floated around like Nick Chubb, since he will be getting healthy in the next couple of weeks, like Amari Cooper, and dare I say, even the great Myles Garrett.
I agree, man. The Jets, that offense would have to move this coming week. They would have to move for heads not to fly. If they go in there and stink up the joint 17 points, 14 points, you got to get rid of the OC. He's got to go.
I tend to agree, Idris.
He's got to go.
Nathaniel Hackett is attached to the hip with Aaron Rodgers, and I made a joke in our group chat. Family friend Rob Calabrese, just to give you a quick backstory, my father and his father worked in the same precinct in Far Rockaway in the NYPD, and Robbie was a very good quarterback in Suffolk County. Ultimately, he got a scholarship, played football at UCF, and now he is the quarterback coach for the New York Jets. We didn't exactly kick it like that because our age gap was a little substantial, but he was more in the age bracket in between her, a little closer to my younger sister. Yeah. But shouts out to him, and I playfully said, oh, Breeze is going to get canned next, joking how Aaron Rodgers is pulling all the strings.
Yeah.
But Rob Calabrese is still with the Jets. I have no love for the Jets, just like you have no love for the Eagles, but we do have people that we care about that work for these two organizations. So in that regard, I hope they play a little better.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm right there with you guys. Look, I agree with Richie 100%. I think Buffalo is going to win this game behind the leg of Tyler Bass. I'm not expecting a pretty game by any means. As far as the Jets go, I don't think this is a game that if you lose, you go out there and trade for a Davante Adams, because they're at a crossroads. I think we're starting to see the picture. Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone after this year. Are you really willing to sacrifice a second-round pick just so you can bring in Davante and then break away from him after this year, since his contract does allow that?
Now, Zep, when you say that Rodgers is gone after this year, is he gone from the NFL or is he just gone from the Jets?
He's gone from the NFL. I think he retires after this year.
Me too.
Me too. The game has more than caught up to him. And I mean, when you're talking about that he had to go on a darkness retreat last year to come back this year, what's he going to have to do this time around? I just think his heart is not there anymore.
I'm wondering if there is an organization that would be willing to invest in Rodgers, and there is one particular organization that does come to mind, and it's oddly enough the team that his former teammate is currently playing for. I'm talking about the Vegas Raiders, but I'm going to throw one at you just to get a little chuckle before you give us your final prediction. What if Aaron Rodgers was to supplant Deshaun Watson out of Cleveland, and he inherits a pretty good coach in Kevin Stefanski and a pretty good defense? Or is that just out of the question? I can't see Rodgers in Cleveland.
That's out of the question.
I could see Homeboy definitely in Vegas though.
The only place I could see him going is back to the West Coast.
Yeah.
That's to either the 49ers, which that's not going to happen, as they're fixing to pay Brock Purdy this offseason, or the Raiders. But even then, the Raiders right now with their direction and head coach and personnel is pretty much right there with that of the Jets. Yeah. I think his time is coming to an end.
The only way that he could be on the West Coast and not play for the team you just mentioned would be if randomly, surprisingly, if Matthew Stafford hung it up after this year, because he's not a spring chicken either. But stay tuned. It should be good. And your final score, Zappy, is?
I'm going, like I said, behind the leg of Tyler Bass. I think this Buffalo Bills scores 1 touchdown, but I think they're going to be scoring a lot of field goals. Give me a score of 22-20, 5 field goals made by Tyler Bass.
All right. So we're all on the Bass train. Idris, yourself, and I all believe the Jets are going down at home. Yeah. That's Monday. We're going to back it up a day to Sunday Night Football. Idris and I, our New York Football Giants, coming off a feel-good, surprising win in the Pacific Northwest. They're now 2-3, hosting the embattled Cincinnati Bengals at 1-4. Giants had a huge season-saving victory with a dramatic game-saving field goal block by Isaiah Simmons. The Bengals, on the other hand, lost in heartbreaking fashion after a Joe Burrow interception and then a shooter McPherson shanked field goal. By the way, that was not the kicker's fault. It was a horrific hold.
Yeah.
Horrific hold. It wasn't even the snap. It was literally the hold. But I do have to say one thing. Joe Burrow played his ass off, but that untimely interception was something that was forced into coverage that didn't have to happen.
And what is he supposed to do? Their offense has been playing phenomenal. It's their defense.
Their defense is trash.
Oh, no, I completely agree, but I did not like the play calling, and I didn't like the forced throw. I mean, I get it. When you're feeling it the way Burrow was, I get it.
12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and then 1-4. That's insane.
Can you imagine if Burrow was behind our offensive line right now, what he would be doing?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But this is a game that I truly think has the makings of being a potential shootout, because you do have the Bengals who have that very lackluster defense. And I do think last week, although he might still be dead man walking after the year, Daniel Jones, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, is starting to gain a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
Tyrone Tracy undeniably is going to push down Devin Singletary. The reason I think the Giants win this game, I think they're going to win at the point of attack in the trenches, and I don't think that Joe Burrow is going to be able to completely cut up that questionable Giants secondary. I think you're going to see a lot of Thibodeau. You're going to see a lot of Dexy. You're going to see
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man might have his way back there too. I like the Giants to not only win, but to score 30 points this week. I got the Giants winning this thing 30-23, and they're going to put up 5 sacks.
I'm going to go with the Giants. We lead the league in sacks, pressures, and quarterback hits. We got a good red zone defense. Of course, our corners, Banks is picking it up. I mean, they're getting better, but we're still susceptible a little bit. And I think that's our advantage because we got that pass rush. We got to watch out for T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Those two guys, they are who they are. I think on offense, Daniel Jones is I think he's getting comfortable. He looks comfortable. I think TNT, Tracy, I think he's going to supplant Singletary. But still a good 1-2 punch, though, those two. I don't know if Neighbors will be back. I think he will be back. Clayton, Wendell Robinson. I think we can carve up that defense. But I think we do a lot. I think we're going to be on the ground a lot. I think we're going to give the ball to Tracy a lot. If Singletary, I think we're going to impound. We just got to be able to contain Chase and Higgins. It's not an easy task. They can put the points up on the board. I don't think it'll be 30 points. I think it'll be more like 28-24 when we go Giants. I think we'll get to Burrow about 5 times. They don't really have a running game. They're all right, but they don't have a running game.
This is, hands down, this is probably the greatest 1-4 team in NFL history.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't think their record is a definition of how their season is. They're a damn good team with a damn good offense. Look, the Giants are coming off of a great win. Isaiah Simmons coming up with that block towards the end of the game that led to a kick return for a touchdown. And I kind of see a similar situation this week. I think the Bengals are going to put up points. I really think they're going to be able to put up points with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. The Bengals are playing for their season. They are absolutely playing for their season. While the Giants, I don't think this is their season, even if they lose. Like, they've shown to be competitive week in and week out. But the Bengals, I mean, if we see this Bengals team lose, then I would say we're at about a 90% chance that T. Higgins will be gone next week. He'll be traded away. I really look at this as a must-win game for Cincinnati. They're going up there into New Jersey. They're going to be playing this vaunted defensive pass rush. 22 sacks in 5 games is no easy test for any team. And when you're averaging 4.5 sacks a game, that's incredible. So it's going to be, in my opinion, can the Giants keep up with the Bengals? Because let's not forget, the Ravens had to come back for 10 points down to win that game. Could the Giants do the same thing? I don't necessarily know if they can. I mean, you need Malik Neighbors out there. I hope he plays because I love watching this young man play. He is a stud in the NFL. But if it turns into that kind of game where Daniel Jones has to enter a shootout with Joe Burrow, I see the advantage going to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals on this one just because of the fact that they are playing for their season. I mean, we see the Ravens, how hot they are right now. The Steelers are on the downfall. The Bengals can still make the playoffs. Let's be real with this team. They can still make the playoffs because of how weak it seems like the AFC is playing this year when you're talking about the 3-2 Broncos are in second place. So, I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. I'm going to take the Bengals to win this one 27-23. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Burrow's going to have the ball last to set his team up for a victory.
Yeah, we can't get in a shootout, but like if we get behind, we don't have the offense to come back like that. We get behind, we're in trouble. Period. We're in trouble.
One last thought I want to share on this. Part of the reason why I think the Giants could put up 30 or close to 30 and win the game, I think they're going to win the time of possession battle. But I think the Bengals offense will be efficient, but I don't think they're going to have as many opportunities to put up the total shootout. I think the Giants are going to get blessed with at least one turnover here where they're going to be able to flip the field, something of that nature. And,
that's why I don't think it'll be 30, because I think we'll dominate this time of possession.
Yeah, I think the Giants might induce a couple of turnovers here because something that is exciting right now about the New York Giants, they lead the NFL in sacks currently, and it looks like we found our running back. And when you think about the hurt feelings and all the desperation amongst the fan base after losing Saquon Barkley and replacing him with Devin Singletary, kind of like when WWE replaced Razor Ramon with the fake Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
Right now, Zappy remembers that. Right now, I think the Giants, you see a couple more games like this out of the young man out of Purdue, and people aren't going to be missing Saquon nearly as much, and it's just so ironic that the Eagles are the next on the schedule for the Saquon homecoming. So I understand where Zappy's coming from. Neither result would shock me, but it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I think so. Next.
Yeah, just setting up this banner real quick.
While you doing that, as for the Eagles, I don't know if we have that on the list. But we do. I'll wait on that then.
No, go ahead, share your thought.
You can take Saquon off those Eagles, man. They might be on.
Yeah, Saquon has been their early season MVP.
They might not be 0-4. They would be 0-4 because you take away those 2 big runs against the Packers and the Saints. That's the difference in both those games.
Yeah, they'd be 0-4. They're 0-4.
And speaking of those Eagles, since you mentioned them, we'll get on them in just a moment. But how about this? You got the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Detroit Lions. Last year, this, by many publications, was voted the best regular season game of the year. I'll be honest. I have a feeling that this particular game might give the same kind of excitement of another classic where you're seeing both quarterbacks, Jared Goff and Dak Prescott, go up and down the field. Because although Detroit does have some pieces, I still do not completely view them as a complete defense. And although the Dallas Cowboys have their own share of issues, running the football, things of that nature, I think this is the kind of game where you could literally see a battle of the quarterbacks with high QBRs and just going up and down the field, and who's gonna make the turnover. And the Dallas Cowboys, even if their defense isn't what it could be with some of the other star-studded guys they got, they do have a propensity to induce interceptions when things are going right. So this could be a very interesting battle, but I think it's going to be high scoring. I am taking the Lions here, but by the Cowboys getting that W in Pittsburgh, I think they are still in a very good place, all things considered.
Yeah, I like I say, I picked the Cowboys to win the division, and I'm still going to stick by that. I think the Cowboys. Oh man, I want to pick them this week too, because Detroit doesn't have a good secondary. Decent, but they don't have secondary. CeeDee Lamb separate secondary, and CeeDee's going to be hungry. Dak's going to be hungry. They want to get this chemistry back together. I think it's going to come down to the running game, man. Got to stop that. Dallas has got to stop that run. But Detroit is going to look at that blueprint of Green Bay. They're going to look at that blueprint of the teams that beat them, and they're going to okay, this is how we got to beat Dallas.
Yes, indeed.
But they.
It's hard. Yeah. My final here, I didn't mention, I'm just going to say it. 34 Detroit, 30 Dallas. I think it's going to be a good game. I really do. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Detroit is going to edge one out. I think the Cowboy offense is going to look a lot better. But unfortunately, I think neither defense is going to show up to the level, because I do think that Dallas has gutted out a couple of wins on the road that they should feel good about. But the Pittsburgh offense is still a work, still under mass construction. They're going to be starting rust this week. Whereas the Detroit Lions, they can play some offense over there. And I also think that the combination of Gibbs as well as Monty is going to be a little too much.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Detroit because of that. I'm going to go – God, I want to go 35-31 Detroit. But it wouldn't surprise me if Dallas won, because they're going to have a hard time stopping the pass, Detroit. And if Dallas jumps out there, I think the defense is strong enough to hold off whatever threat that Detroit has. It depends on who jumps out there first. Whoever gets out there, 14, the 3, 21, 7, I think that's the team that'll win.
All right, Zappy, you are up.
I look at this as a bigger game for Detroit than that for Dallas.
Yeah.
Detroit looked good against Seattle, but that was a home game. This is to me their first true test of the season.
Yeah.
When we look at Dallas, they've had two good victories. Dallas's running game has finally gotten together. The run defense has looked better the last 2 weeks. My biggest fear going into Pittsburgh was the way we play against quarterbacks that can run the ball, and we did a really good job of slowing down Justin Fields. And then you look at what Detroit defensively, they need another pass rusher, and I think that's going to be the difference in the game, is the fact that their secondary is not that great, and they can't just rely only on Aiden Hutchinson. They need somebody else to help out. Yeah. I agree. I think this is going to be a high-scoring shootout, and I don't think it's going to be so much on the legs of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs or Rico Dowell and Hunter Luepke or Zeke. I think it's going to be straight on the arms of Dak and Jared Goff. And I honestly look at it as whoever has the ball last is going to win this game. Yeah. I think we are in for a very, very exciting game at AT&T Stadium, one that we've seen almost every year with this Cowboys team. And this seems like it's going to be the one yet again. Last year it was a defensive struggle. This year, I think we're going to see points flying off the board. I have to take the home team on this one. What I saw from Dak after turning the ball over 3 times and being able to wield his team and lead them down the field against the number 1 defense in the NFL was big. You know, those are the kind of moments that a $60 million quarterback is supposed to make, and he made it. I don't care what anyone says. That was against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at their home, not against, you know, the New York Giants defense, not against Cincinnati Bengals defense. It was against one of the hardest defenses with one of the best pass rushing defenses. And I think that's going to carry over, especially with the emergence of Jalen Tolbert the last couple of weeks. He's starting to look like he is.
Balling.
He's balling, and he's looking like he's our number 2. It might also set up that we're going to, you know, Browns say they're making Amari Cooper available and they're looking for a 3rd-round pick in exchange. I don't think Dallas is going to do it. I think they're going to just try to ride it out with what they have right now. And if they do make a trade for anything, and I don't even think it's going to be a defensive end. It might be a running back, if that. Maybe they trade for a Nick Chubb, if anything, you know. But I think Dallas, because of what they have, and that being the best kicker in the NFL, I said it.
He is.
I think Brandon Aubrey kicks Dallas to a victory, 37-34, in a very high-scoring, entertaining game.
You know something, Zappy? 2 things. It wouldn't surprise me if Aubrey kicks a 67-yarder this year, because he has that type of leg. 1.
Oh yeah, wouldn't surprise me if he attempts a 70-yarder.
It wouldn't surprise me if he makes it.
Yeah.
So, shouts out to Rico Dowdell.
You know, and it's a crazy game too, because yes, Dallas gets the bye week next week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I said, it's not necessarily a must win. To me, it's a bigger must win for Detroit for a couple of reasons. The NFC North is the best division in football. Everyone is 3-2 or better. The NFC East is kind of lacking this year. Commanders, yes, they're a 4-1 team, but we're about to find out who they are here in the coming weeks. Yeah. And, you know, Dallas, it seems like they can afford a loss more than Detroit can. And that's why I think there's going to be more pressure on Detroit going into this game. So I'm taking Dallas. I got to take my home squad on this one. If Dallas was going to Detroit, I would take Detroit to win this one by 10. But I just think Dak is going to continue to prove and show why he is the best quarterback in the NFC.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Dallas. That's why I was so like. That's why I'm like I wasn't sure, but I mean, Dallas has the offense, man. And once they get ahead of you, Dallas. Once Dallas jumps on your shit, it's hard to come back. It's hard to come back, you know. And I think if they jump out to a lead and force Detroit to have to throw to catch up, they're going to lose. Detroit's going to lose. Dallas is going to run the ball. He's going to run the ball, run it, dot out, boom, 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 boom.
You know, and also I like the way Mike Zimmer coached our defense when we didn't have Micah Parsons. It was a team defensive play instead of relying on Micah to line up all over the field. And I like how Mike Zimmer has actually coached this defense the last few weeks, and the way he is using everybody instead of relying on somebody. And you know, they're playing team football. That this past Sunday, I thought was the most complete the Cowboys have looked all season long, even more than when they went to Cleveland or when they played against the Giants. I mean, the Giants game I thought was an abysmal showing by Dallas offensively, but this game against Pittsburgh, I thought they played a very complete game. I mean, the score didn't do it justice. Dallas beat the living crap out of Pittsburgh, but it was 3 turnovers in Pittsburgh territory that made the game the difference.
Yeah. An interesting caveat here. In the event the Cowboys lose, they will be 0-3 at home, yet undefeated on the road. Interesting caveat. If the Giants lose, same thing. They will be 0-3 at home, but this is something to feel somewhat good about. Very rarely do the Detroit Lions win in Dallas, and never, and I said never ever, have the Cincinnati Bengals won in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And the Giants just picked up their first victory in Cincinnati just the last time that these two teams played. So it will be interesting to see how this all plays out. It's going to be an exciting game.
Mhm.
This one shouldn't take a lot of analysis, being that Cleveland's so stinking bad. I think the Philadelphia Eagles getting back their wide receiver duo of A.J. Brown as well as Devontae Smith probably going to make light work of these guys. I'm expecting an actually big game, not only out of Saquon Barkley, but also out of Dallas Goedert. I think the presence of those other two is going to open it up for those other two in the passing game. I like the Eagles rather big here. I'm going 30-13, and I think Saquon Barkley continues to show why he is the early season MVP for that particular team. Short, sweet, and simple. Deshaun Watson will find too many white jerseys. And that's that, folks. He is terrible. Eagles by a lot.
Everything you said, I said Deshaun Watson. I said he's washed up, and I'm going to continue to say he's washed up. Eagles 28, Cleveland 17.
Yeah, this is what we call a get right game for Philly. A
Yeah.
game they need to come out and impress and not just win barely. Cleveland is in shambles. I think this is going to be the last time we see Amari Cooper wearing that jersey.
Yeah.
Give me Philly in a big one, 37-13. I just think Philly's going to come out and outclass them from the get-go.
Yeah, we are all on Philly for that one. Not even thinking about it too hard.
Watch them lose.
Wrapping up the NFC East, this one's going to be good. The Battle of the Beltway. We've got the Washington Commanders at 4-1 taking on the resurgent Baltimore Ravens, who are enjoying a 3-game winning streak. The Commanders a 4-game winning streak. It's been a long time since these two have been good at the same time. The Commanders look to prove the naysayers wrong that they can play with anyone, and this is their first true test when you really think about it. The Ravens appear dead, but a Joe Burrow pick, and we already alluded to the Evan McPherson shanked field goal, gave them that second life, and Derrick Henry picked up more yards in one carry than he did in the previous 10. The Ravens are riding a 3-game winning streak. They're looking good, and I think this is going to be the first time this season since week 1 that the Washington Commanders, almost call them Redskins, get punched in the face. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers punched them in the face week 1. This is going to be the second time it happens. And quite frankly, I don't think that the Commanders have an answer for Derrick Henry right now, the way that he's feeling good. And I believe that what's going to be the difference in this game on offense for the Ravens is that you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets that are using Mark Andrews as that extra blocker. And I also think Mark Andrews is going to have a resurgent game, and he's actually going to be the tight end that hits pay dirt once at least. I expect on the other side, Jaden Daniels early on to look good, but I just think that the Ravens present one too many issues that Jaden Daniels hasn't seen yet, and I expect a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes from the young man. I think a guy like actually a Zach Ertz is a low-key good fantasy play in this week because the Ravens have actually struggled against tight ends. But give me the Ravens and give me them in convincing fashion. I'm going to go Ravens 34, Washington Commanders 20.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with you. I'm going to go 31-21. I think Daniels will have a decent day, but I think the Ravens defense will get down. I think Lamar is going to eat. I think he's going to do his thing because they're starting to find their groove with him and Henry. I mean, Henry still needs some more work. That offense is not tailored for him. But one thing about a Dan Quinn defense, they can't stop the run. So we'll see. I'm going to go 31-21 Baltimore, man. I think Washington comes down. Their fans realize, okay, we're good, but we're not great yet. Yes, I did.
Yeah, right. I look at Washington. You know, we saw them go week 1 play against a pretty good Tampa Bay team, and that this has been now their next test since Tampa Bay, as the teams they've beaten since then have a combined 4 wins. So, right. The team that they've beaten has 1 win. I look at, you know, I think Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback, but I think this is going to be the game he makes that pivotal mistake. That mistake that's going to change the complexion of the game completely. Baltimore, look, they have a horrible pass defense, but they have a great running offense. Washington has been playing lights out offensively and defensively, but I think they're going to come back down to earth this week. I think the Ravens are going to ride the legs of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson at the tune of 225 yards rushing between the two of them. And give me Baltimore to win this game 31-20. A late touchdown by Washington. But, Baltimore is the more superior team. They've been for a few years now. And nothing against Washington. I keep saying I think they have arrived. But, these are the kind of games where you kind of find out where you really are in the season.
Before we move it along, I want to say one thing quickly. When I was a very young guy and playing football, I know I wasn't playing at the level of a Jaden Daniels. But he has a very beautiful mother. And, a lot of the Thirst crew was like, my God, just really all about, similar to like compliments that maybe Steph Curry's mom has gotten over the years. And all I'm going to say is I am so glad that no social media was around when I was on the gridiron, because I'm like, damn, my mom was a fox in her day too. And I was like, damn.
Oh, yeah.
Thirst trap.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
So just a quick update,
That's
guys. Quick update: the Padres were winning 6-1, but Teoscar Hernandez just hit a grand slam, make the game 6-5.
Oh wow, that is going to be very interesting how that plays out. Those two teams put up a lot of runs. They can put up low-scoring football games. The Bucs are going to the Big Easy to take on the Saints, 3-2 versus 2-3. The Saints, after that encouraging start, are now without quarterback Derrick Henry. Derek Carr, excuse me. Spencer Rattler is going to get the start here. And while I don't think that New Orleans offense is going to be completely lost, I just don't see Tampa blowing an opportunity to win a big divisional game when they came so close to defeating the Atlanta Falcons. I think Tampa is going to be able to get good contributions from both running backs. And I also think that Mike Evans is going to feast on the up and down New Orleans secondary. Give me Tampa and give me good Baker with the final of 29. Yes, 29. They're going to miss an extra point. 29-20. Same score that the G-Men won in the Pacific Northwest. 29-20, the road team. Tampa gets a dub in the Big Easy.
I don't think it's going to be that close, man. Spencer Rattler, you're coming in there, your first start, NFL start. He was a decent quarterback, South Carolina. He came from Oklahoma first, right?
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah,
yeah. He was a Lincoln Riley recruit.
Yeah. It's a whole different game, man. And you're going up against a great defense that can play some ball. And he doesn't have that rapport with Kamara and the rest of them. I think that D-line's going to go after him. They're going to get him. Both going to throw a couple of interceptions. Might get a fumble from him. I'm going to go Tampa Bay 31, New Orleans 17. And before you go, Zach, there was a Saints fan that told me today they rather have Spencer Rattler is better than what they had in Derek Carr. And I said, you must not have watched college football. Spencer Rattler is not better than Derek Carr. He's better than Derek. I said, you must not know who Spencer Rattler is. I'm not saying Spencer Rattler's a scrub, but to say he's a better quarterback than Derek Carr and the man has never played an NFL down is absurd.
It's because the next man up is always better.
Right. Till this weekend.
Yeah. Same thing. Look, this Saints team, they were on that 2-week high, putting up 40 points a game against Carolina and Dallas. They have more than come back down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
They played a tough. Well, they showed up and played a great game last night against Kansas City. I'm gonna give them that. They could have easily folded early when Kansas City took the ball down the field in the opening drive and made it 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
But they battled, and I'm gonna give them credit where credit is due. But I like the weapons more with Tampa Bay than I do with Kansas City, even though Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think Baker is going to pick that defense apart.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Evans is going to have himself a big 125 type of game. Chris Godwin, 85, and he'll have himself 3 touchdown passes. Give me the Saints to win this one 31-17 as well. I'm sorry, the Buccaneers to win this one against the Saints 31-17. And the Bucs, they're in a battle now. They could have taken full control of the division last week, but we saw what happened. They gave Captain Kirk that chance to come back twice. He took
Mhm.
advantage, took it into overtime. I think the Buccaneers are going to come out upset about that one and take it out on that New Orleans defense. 31-17 Tampa.
All right, moving it along to Lambeau Field, the Arizona Cardinals visiting the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, although they won, that had to be the goofiest interception I've seen in a long time on the part of Jordan Love. I think John was probably throwing a beer down on, or just maybe pounding another one. John had a great time out there. I was able to see it by his closed eyes. The Cardinals looking to get to 500, and I actually think that this game is going to be a lot closer than people expect. But I still like the Packers to win. I think there's going to be some points in this one. I think young Marvin Harrison Jr. At Green Bay secondary, which is very talented. You're going to see some nice matchups going on back there. But Green Bay, in my opinion, just has the better team. I expect Trey McBride to really eat in this one. Green Bay has had some issues against opposing tight ends. Their defense is kind of boom or bust at times, but I think they're going to make enough plays to win. However, I think the Cardinals are going to keep it close. I like Green Bay by a score. I'm going 30-23. 30-26, actually. 30-26 in favor of Green Bay.
Yeah, I was going 30-23, actually. I like Jordan Love. His interceptions, sometimes you have an overthrow, sometimes you have an underthrow, sometimes it bounces off the receiver's hands or whatever. But his interceptions are like, did you really throw that football like that? It's like his interceptions like on throws that like, no, dude, you're a professional. We don't.
Sometimes he really makes you scratch your head. Like,
yeah,
he has the makings of being an all-pro. But then occasionally he does something like that, and you're like, wait a minute, did he just turn into Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones?
That's how his interceptions are. They're not overthrows like where he did in a quarterback, the corner or the safety, cut the route. It's like he throws very bad interception.
Yeah, they're brain farts, and he had one in a very bad spot in a game that they probably should have beaten the 49ers in last year. But yes, Love has to clean that shit up.
Yeah, but I'm still going to go with them 30-23. I think Josh Jacobs will get his little run on. I don't think he'll get 100 yards. He has to pick it up, though. I'm going to go 30-23.
30-23 in favor of the home team. Zap, how you feel about this? You got an upset brewing or not really?
I've got a score of 31-27. Arizona coming out on top because of that specific reason. We saw what Arizona did when they forced that critical interception by Brock Purdy at the end of the game. Same thing. I think Jordan Love is going to throw that critical interception. That's going to be the difference to allow Arizona to sneak away with one. And I think they take this one as well, 31-27.
Okay.
All right. Some of our less notables that I put up on the screen for everyone to see here. These are my predictions, not speaking for the gents here. Texans 30, Patriots 13. As you can see, the capitalized teams are the home squads. I got the Titans winning a tight one against the Indianapolis Colts. The Jags 30-24 over the Bears in overtime. I got a Christian Kirk sighting or BTJ, one or the other are going to hit for pay dirt in OT. I got the Steelers by a touchdown over the Raiders. I think Russell Wilson will navigate just enough offense. They'll look a little more functional. Their defense is very good, as you all know. The Falcons 34 over the lowly Panthers, who are going to score 20, probably their last touchdown. I expect it to be in garbage time. And the Denver Broncos, which is probably the only game on this list really worth talking about, by a touchdown over the Los Angeles Chargers. And suddenly the Broncos are about to be 4-2.
I agree with you with all of them, but I think the Colts are going to beat the Titans. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not too keen on the Titans. Yeah, I'm not too keen on the Titans.
Who's starting that? It looks like Joe Flacco's playing that game, right?
Yeah, yes, Flacco's playing. Yeah, Flacco's playing.
That's a hard one to say because I think the Titans have been playing good football every week. It's just been Will Levis letting them down every week at the most critical time.
And
the Colts have looked better with Joe Flacco, honestly.
And question, fellas, isn't JT injured?
Yes, Jonathan
Yeah.
Taylor is in. We still don't know, though, if he's going to be playing this week or not. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
All right, something to keep an eye on. But yeah, the Broncos. This game, I'm going to say it now. Justin Herbert is going to make a critical mistake late that's going to cost the Chargers tie in the game. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Broncos are starting to win me over.
Yeah, and they're doing it with defense, and Bo Nix is not making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you win in this league. As long as your quarterback does not make a mistake, you're going to win more times than not. What was your score to the Jaguars game?
30-24 in overtime. The Jaguars offense suddenly looks like they found themselves.
Give me Chicago, because I think Chicago's offense has found themselves. And I think we may be seeing the end of Travis Etienne in Jacksonville here in the next 2 weeks. I think he's going to be on the trade block. I think Tank Bigsby has won the coaching staff over. And instead of having to pay Etienne, why not trade him and just go forward with Bigsby? But give me the Bears to win this one 34-27. I think their offense is actually coming together pretty well.
All right, it's going to be interesting. So you got more faith in the young rookie than the veteran who sometimes still looks like a rookie. It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a lot of offense. Thursday Night Football wraps up our week. As I said, we went backwards this week. The 49ers against a team that they have owned in recent history, the Seahawks. Seahawks coming off a very tough loss to my Giants. The 49ers, same in their case, with the critical Brock Purdy interception. The Seahawks are healthier. No question about that. And they are the home team. Are they going to lose 2 weeks in a row in a short week in front of the 12th man? Yes, they are. I just can't see a world where the San Francisco 49ers are 2-4, even though they do have their fair share of issues. I think this one is going to be a little bit in the mid to low 20 range. I got the 49ers winning this thing 24-20. I'm going to go 24-23. And I'm going to call for a late Seattle missed field goal. They won't get blocked this time. They're just going to flat out miss. Jason Myers, who's super reliable, is going to miss a close one. And I think it's the difference. The 49ers get the dub and keep their winning ways against the guys in Seattle in front of the 12s.
I'm going to go with Frisco 24-21. But I do have a question. How is Brandon Ayuk doing?
He finally showed up this past week. He had himself a big game against Arizona.
Yeah. It took how many weeks now?
Hey, a broke clock is right twice a day. So
right. I'm gonna go 24-21. Frisco field goal. It's all hands on deck with that team, man. All hands on deck.
Man, this one I think is a hard one to predict.
It is.
I took Arizona to beat the 49ers. Mm-hmm. I just had that feeling, and again, I have that feeling because right now I just do not like how the 49ers look. I am not impressed with them much, and I think that the Christian McCaffrey news of him having bilateral Achilles tendonitis has really hampered the team.
Both feet, man.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like even if CMC is coming back next month, something tells me this is it. He is retiring after this year.
Hey, he might. I mean, he might.
He might have to.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is about this 49er team that I just cannot get behind right now. And yes, while Seattle did lose one, they lost a heartbreaker at home. I see them having an easier time coming back from it than I do the 49ers. I don't know why. Call me crazy, call me stupid. Give me Seattle to come up with a hard-fought victory. The 49ers have had their number, but that was under Pete Carroll. Mike McDonald is doing a really good job with that team. I think their defense is playing much better this year. I just trust Seattle a little more. Wouldn't surprise me if San Francisco won, but I think a new culture, which was needed, I think is a big influence. And I think the Seattle team is going to come out on top at home. Like I said, give me Seattle 27-24. That was the score I took Arizona. They won 24-23. I think it's going to be a similar type of situation where they're going to get to kick that game-winning field goal. And also, not to mention, what is the extent of Jake Moody's injury? Because that's something that can come back and haunt this team down the road. And that's something that could haunt them this week, especially. You know, if Jake Moody's out, I need to look and see who their backup kicker is. I haven't checked that out, but there's just too many. I just think there's too many question marks. And not only that, when I see a Dre Greenlaw on the sideline, in street clothes, like, I'm expecting the NFL to suspend the guy for doing what he did. But it just, to me, tells me that team is not all there. And it could be the Super Bowl hangover. It could be the amount of injuries they faced. But when we're talking about a prima donna and Brandon Ayuk arguing about having to change shorts and not showing up and finally doing it, when we talk about, Shaq Mason's looked good, but at times he hasn't. Deebo Samuel's been hurt at times. There's just too many question marks for this 49ers team. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks 27-24 in a hard-fought win.
You know what? Think about that block by Isaiah Simmons. I always wondered, because when they rush the kicker, not why more linebackers don't blitz that gap like Isaiah Simmons did. He didn't fight his way through the lineman. He blitzed right up the gap, shot right over the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's
blocked
got
the
the athletic ability to do it.
Well, yeah.
Not everyone's got that ability to be able to jump over the center the way he did.
Actually, he didn't jump over the center. He cut the gap.
Oh, he didn't? Oh, he did?
Yeah, he hit the gap. I mean, he jumped, but he jumped through the gap. Untouched, and got the block. Yeah.
Interesting.
But, he hit the gap.
That's the way it is sometimes,
I think I watched that video 1,000 times, man.
Yeah, there was some Seattle fans. There were some Seattle fans crying about it, and I was like, "Listen, just go to the NFL rule book, and they'll tell you why it wasn't illegal."
Right. He didn't jump the play; he jumped the gap. Yeah.
You guys are paying for hiring Pete Carroll and trying to make him into this generation's Dick Vermeil. But in reality, he was just this generation's dickhead. Until next time, he's Zappy. He's Idris. I am Richie. We are still looking over some of the hotel stuff, but we will be just fine. I will keep you guys posted. Keep the phones charged. We're going to be all right, Florida. But I am sending my heartfelt best wishes to those that are going to be getting the direct hit of this in Tampa. Stay strong, guys. Chin up. And we're going to be all right. Until next time, we are out. Announcements to come. And look for us to more than likely hit you with a baseball show in the very near future as the Yankees and the Mets are ramping it up. We out.
Right on.
Good night, y'all.